Okay. So, Ben, we read a number of novels this year. What was at least one life lesson from these novels that you'll be taking with you?
Well, what was most impactful for me, especially with the books that we read, was the satirical literature. So, Gulliver's Travels, a number of other ones like The Crucible. In general, it was the books that the authors wrote specifically against their culture. They wrote it to say what was wrong with their culture. And to me, that it's kind of a bold statement, obviously, because the culture in which you live is the only culture you've ever known. And to me, that it was a reminder, or it was almost a lesson, because I hadn't taken this idea too seriously, was that we need to be willing to step outside of the cultural bounds in order to succeed in any field. So that's what was most impactful to me. Just seeing the authors doing this, it inspired me to be willing to do that as well.
To be willing to challenge social norms?
Exactly.
Great, thank you. Jackson, what was one thing that really stuck out or stuck with you from our debate and art history strand?
I think that would be when we were going through the Francis Schaeffer's How Should We Then Live series. One thing that stuck out for me was that the norm today for teenagers is just to kind of follow what their parents are telling them, what the culture is telling them, what their friends are telling them, and not really actually think about what they're believing, think about what they're living. And it's important to break away from that and to actually decide what you're going to believe for yourself, not from what someone else is telling you.
You know, the five of you sitting around the table, when we had this conversation, all had very similar beliefs, and those beliefs are similar to the people who have influence in your life, your tutors, your parents, the other adults in your life. So how does that make you any different from the teens that you're referring to, or the kind of the stereotypical teenagers that are falling in step?
Well, I would say that we're being taught both sides of the argument. We're being taught all of the information. We're being given all of the information before we make our decision, whereas teens these days are just being given one side of the story. They're being taught evolution, they're not being taught creation, so they're not able to make that decision for themselves. And so we're actually able to take all the information, and we're actually able to make the decision on what we're going to believe based off of the facts. And so that's how we're doing.
Okay, not just specific to Challenge 2. What do you appreciate most about the Challenge program?
Personally, I enjoy the fact that you have... I kind of, over my years in Challenge, I've kind of started to classify the strands as almost material, like math and Latin and science. Like, those are just, it's just information, it's facts. Then you have other ones, like this year was debate, cultural art history, and American drama. That kind of, instead of being material presented to you, it was instead, and it was that. It was material being presented to you, but there was more to it. It was the thought behind it that really started to be what drove the strand. And so it became, you have the courses that are like what to think and what you know, and then other courses, and that was Latin, math, and science, and then the other courses were how to think. Almost, it was shaping our worldviews.
That's something we certainly saw throughout the art history and the music history, is how the artists, how these composers believed, what they thought about the world around them was reflected in all of their work, all of their life. And that's something that we probably don't even recognize that affects us that much. But it really envelops everything we do, everything we are.
Thank you. All right, and what were the two biggest lies that you guys learned this year?
Right, so they're on the board. I don't know if you can see them. Most important lie that I learned as a person says, I'll have time for that later. Never tell yourself that. It's not true, you'll never have time again.
And the second lie?
Oh, am I doing this as well? Okay. The other one was, I don't have to write that down, I will remember. No, you will not remember, you will forget.
Which is why you have to keep looking at the board.
Exactly. It's written down, but I have to look.
Thanks, guys.